Welcome back. We are continuing our journey along the way. We are now moving up to level 6, which is now green. Historically, green emerged during the 1960s with the whole counterculture movement, where you had the birth of hippies, Greenpeace, multiculturalism, and psychedelics. It was the beginning point of political correctness, for which has become somewhat the new social norm in developed countries nowadays over the last 20 years. Not so much in those days. Green emerges when orange realizes just how meaningless and hollow success and making a bunch of money and acquiring a bunch of luxury and material goods, just how unsatisfying all that really is. And now with green, the end goal becomes about helping other people with their problems that have put them at a disadvantage in life rather than focusing on my personal success. Another way that green emerges is through a health crisis from eating too much junk food, or a relationship crisis from spending too much time working and burning himself out and not spending enough time with loved ones. Green begins to acknowledge all these systemic problems within capitalism, such as monopolies with buying out competition, environmental destruction through all the consumption and mismanagement of resources to keep mass producing, all the wealth and income inequality with the shrinking middle class as the rich get richer from accumulating all the generational wealth over time, and just mindless consumerism. Green, in the most extreme cases, not all cases, believes that everybody in the world should have the same amount of money regardless of what they do for a job or how much value that they provide to the world given their skills, which on a human level is somewhat understandable, but on a professional level makes very little sense. But most of the time, green just wants a more fair playing field for all women, minorities, genders, and other people with disabilities and mental illnesses, not just the people who naturally had it easy, which is totally fair and justified. Green wants to invent new technology that limits our impact on the environment, that reduces global warming through things like electric cars and wind turbines as opposed to nuclear power plants and gas cars. Because if we don't do this, who knows how long until the ice melts and sea levels rise and we all drown, or we have some kind of oxygen crisis with pollution in the air. Green wants to take a more community-centered approach towards unifying the whole world. The last collective level blue was only interested in its own civilization, and orange rejected community almost entirely, and was so indulged in the fantasy that we're all just individuals doing our own thing. But green wants to bring all cultures of all values together so that we all as humans can live happily ever after. Now at this point the world has made a bit of progress towards that, but we are still so far away from achieving that, which upsets green, because it fails to realise just how difficult it can be to unify people of different backgrounds. Green also wants tighter regulation on the private sector to make sure workers are treated in an ethical way, and to ensure that environmental regulations are enforced. Relationships at this level are treated more deeply and intimate rather than surface level or transactional. Huge step up from orange. This is where you have full liberalism and love and acceptance for all. This is where you have socialism being practiced in a loving, more compassionate way, where all is properly equal for everybody, with it being placed alongside democracy, not an autocratic form of communism like at stage blue, like China or USSR for example. This is where you have the emergence of postmodernism, where there is no such notion of absolute truth or solid grand narrative, and that any conclusions made about reality are no longer seen as concrete, but just how one's mind projects its assumptions onto reality, and that every perspective is just a lens that gives us a partial picture of reality. So one's mind starts to see the validity in other approaches to inquiring about the nature of life, so thinking is much more relativistic. But with this comes a massive struggle to make down-to-earth choices, which for green can be very debilitating. And even though postmodernism makes one very open-minded in considering all other different possibilities, it can't accept that some perspectives are better overall and therefore better equipped to handle certain situations based on context, while other perspectives overall are less effective in most situations. So with postmodernism we get trapped in nihilism and indecisiveness. Examples of green are progressives, LGBTQ, the Me Too movement, hippie counterculture, Burning Man, vegans and vegetarians, Bernie Sanders, Jacinda Ardern, Greta Thunberg, Oprah Winfrey, social workers, community organisers, university culture, SJWs, feminism, abortion rights, support groups, socialists, the redistribution of wealth, a capital gains tax, welfare programs, Northern European countries, and marijuana legalization. Now, the downfalls of green are wanting to eliminate all hierarchies. This is problematic. Yes, some hierarchies are oppressive, but if you just put all people in an organization on the same playing field, then there is no decisive decision making due to the lack of leadership. Sometimes they can overregulate, which can stifle progress in creating the necessary change with green technology. Being too sensitive and emotionally needy, not coming to terms with the fact that most people are just not as open-minded as you are, and not only that, but you yourself are not as open-minded as you like to think you are. Holding all points of view as equal, yes, consider all points of view, but put things into proper context, which we'll be talking about in the next level, yellow. Okay, that about sums it up for green. Please hit the like button and hit the bell notification if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next episode.